Okay. Good evening, everybody. I didn't mean to start it yet, but it happened anyway. So that's the way it goes. So, welcome. I want to see you better than I see myself. Wait a second. There are still some people coming in. Okay. So we're very, very happy to connect with you this evening. We are presently in Israel between two courses, and together with our dear Israeli friends.
George, you have to close the screen you're sharing. I'm so sorry, but
Oh, it's still there?
mm,
That's so weird.
yes, there you are.
Strange
Yay.
things are happening with the computers. Nothing to do with me, everything to do with the situation. It's all because of the war. So we are here in Israel, happily enough by destiny, and experiencing something of a particular point of view of the solidarity which is probably around the whole world right now towards all of those who are, all of us, towards ourselves, in a way, if I really look at it. The solidarity with the experience of being alive in this particular era of conflict and war, and in which civilian life doesn't seem to matter too much, at least not as much as a military advantage, perhaps. So, the non-dual connection in us greets the non-dual connection in you. And it sounds like a kind of high-tech quality, connection, put the plug in the USB, turn on the lights, pick up the phone. But it's so much more than that. It's so much richer than that almost prosaic, dull word connection. Because within this principle of connection is not a quality which comes and goes. It's very clearly something much closer to truth, meaning the basic wisdom of interdependence. And the whole of non-duality is based on moving beyond the illusion that we are separate in any absolute way, that we have a separate, independent existence, the illusion of the separate self. And partly why there is this drive to move beyond this illusion of the separate self into the wisdom of wholeness and interdependence is because this idea of separation, this experience of separation which comes from the idea, this suffering of separation, is really, really harsh, and it's birthing many, 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 many other sufferings, like shame. We need to be separate in order to experience shame. We need to be divided. Or guilt. We need to divide in order to be judged or to judge others. Feeling worthless. Suffering of worthlessness, humiliation. Again, it depends on separation. The basic emotions of fear and anger, they all depend on separation, because if there was no separate self, there wouldn't be that much need for them. Except for one area, which is in the area of preserving the well-being of the whole, whether it's the whole body, the whole community, the whole earth, the whole family of life, which is around us in any moment. So connection sits in the middle of all of this. And within the human experience, it seems that the experience of feeling separate, the experience of disconnection, seems to be needed for some purpose. In fact, it's so common, it's so easily available and so conditioned that we could almost say that through this feeling of disconnection, we're all connected. How do you recognize a human being, the human mind? It thinks that it's separate. It believes that it created itself, that it's in control. It managed to come to a place of almost existential certainty that each single one is an individual entity, and from this, the only possible evolution of the psyche is the evolution of a psychology of war, where it's kill or be killed. It's me versus the other. It's you or me. For me to be good, you must be bad. And if you're good, then I must be bad. For me to be right, you must be wrong. And if you're right, then does that make me wrong? You see where it brings us to, a whole psychology of war. Kill or be killed. Me or you. Self versus the other. Might is right. Whoever shouts the loudest is more right. Whoever wins the battle controls the history. Now, when we are faced with an enemy that's trying to kill us in real time, perhaps there is that situation in real time where we kill them before they kill us. That doesn't make it a universal law. And it's a very tough karma that we have to learn through that, when it's direct, when it's opposite us, when we have to make such choices. And in general, the best default is to trust ourselves, because ourselves we can trust, having taken back the preservation of the system, that we will act on behalf of the interests of the whole. And some would even say to not kill a murderer who's about to kill many people is actually like murdering many people. So there's this deeper principle of where do we go with a certainty to know that we're advocating the best interests of the whole. In order to move from this place of endless suffering, kill and be killed and murder the murderers and punish the punishers and revenge on the revengers, humiliate the humiliated, expel the ones that least belong, in order to move from this psychology to something which is more propelling us as a human race towards well-being. So there is this basic question: what serves the interest of the whole? Now, often there's this thought within that, oh, if it serves the interest of the whole, then it's like I have to sacrifice myself. What about me? I have to put me first. I trust me, man. Screw the whole. The whole can wait till later. And sadly enough, later often never comes with that kind of thinking. And it takes an emergency situation like the one we are in now, right now in Israel, but in other parts of the world as well, in Iran, in Ukraine, in Russia, in Europe, across the world, when we look towards the kind of people who are throwing military weight around the world, of all political persuasions, killing machines. When we look there, it's quite important to get grounded, to come back to the center of ourselves and to look at where we are connected immediately in the here and now, physically, and to do something for the benefit of the whole through that field of connection. Because connection is a basic principle of interdependence. We are all connected to each other all the time. We're so much connected, even to the point that if we were individual atoms, there would be a thing like even if we were a rock, which Einstein called spooky action at a distance, where one time we met each other, one time we were connected, and then we take one atom, like we take you, and we throw you to the other side of the universe, and the atom which is here, that was before that connected, starts spinning in a different direction. That one will start spinning as well. The connection breaks through space and time. It's eternal, it's infinite, it's immediate, it's faster than thought. And it's not just between atoms. Of course it's then between species, between souls, between forms of life. And part of what happens when there's a crisis, a political crisis, or a military crisis, or a threat to our security, is that this feeling of connection narrows. It gets very, very, very narrow. And in that narrowing of the connection, what can come forward very quickly is a horrible feeling of loneliness. So the connection is narrowed to exclude the connection to the planet, the connection to the ancestors, the connection to the universe, the connection to all living beings. And it's already narrowed to mean our immediate circle of acquaintances. And then it narrows even further to this place of total loneliness. The raw experience of separation, of the illusion of separation. This suffering where it feels like something is very depleted, left alone, abandoned, neglected, unnurtured, stained, like something to be ashamed of. This kind of experience which can feel almost like being alone in the whole universe, and the whole universe, there's just nobody there. And this is quite a great suffering which we disown en masse. We stigmatize it. We isolate the lonely because they remind us of the suffering of the separate self. And if the suffering of the separate self is that unbearable, then maybe we better all just hold on to each other all the time. Be truly intimate with each other, get really properly entangled, never really have a space in our togetherness. Maybe we should totally dive symbiotically into each other, under each other's skin, so as never to feel that loneliness. But that's equally awful. The feeling that there's no space to be as we are, unfiltered, uncensored, unobligated. The feeling that there's others pushing us from the outside in beyond what's organic, beyond what's needed from the center point of ourselves in any moment. The old wounds of feeling violated, controlled, coerced. It's got to be one of the most popular conversations on social media. Is my partner a narcissist? Or is this a narcissist? Or narcissist that, and narcissist that, and gaslight this and gaslight that. This is the fear of intimacy. And so we go into another kind of shrinkage. Because intimacy, we want it, but like loneliness, we want it on our terms. We want to control it. We want intimacy with a particular one at a particular time in a particular way. And this immediately births again loneliness. A classic example right now in Israel is the movement to the bomb shelters, which are often shared with the neighbors. And there's sometimes an option to go to the stairwell alone, where there's no internet connection, and suffer that isolation, that loneliness, that existential torture, or to go to the shelter and to suffer the company of others at 3 a.m, and maybe not, and have them suffer us. Too much intimacy. Who wants to look at the neighbor at 3 a.m? And his wife and half-dressed child, and maybe the dog? Who wants to share their dreams overtly? It's okay the first night, it's a bit of a party. Second night, okay, but third night, fourth night, fifth night, suddenly the stairwell begins to look kind of like a more spacious place. So this shelter thing is quite a good symbol of the separate self. It's a place we go into when we desperately need protection in the very raw circumstances of kill and be killed, a place where we go to buy some time and space to recalibrate what's needed for the benefit of the whole, even if it's in the benefit of physical survival of the greatest number. But what happens after the alarm stops and there's been a hit in the area is that people come out of those shelters, and at 3 a.m, en masse they go down to the streets together, hundreds of them, to see if they can help, to see what can be done, to see if their neighbors are okay. There's a spontaneous awakening of togetherness. So there's something about war situations which brings us, like a big metaphor, into this dance of who are we when we're together with each other? Who are we when we're connected? And what's the true value of connection? What is it really? Because the loneliness is asking, thirsting, hungering for connection. Even to the connection with the loneliness of another person, or the loneliness of a tree, or a loneliness of an old dog that lost his playmate. And the intimacy. Let's be intimate. Of course, when it's moving through the physical like that, it's longing for connection. It's celebrating the substance of what's possible when we are connected, when we take that risk. Often when we move into that area of loneliness inside ourselves, that old, ancient, almost timeless dimension of human loneliness which exists within us, and we allow the experience to be there, we connect to it, we allow it to be there, we can find that we're becoming very intimate with this old, ancient loneliness which we're feeling. And in that moment we become intimate with the timeless aspect of the human experience and the collective aspect of the human experience, the loneliness which has been there through generations, across cultures, through all religions, regardless of gender, regardless of physical appearance. There can be an intimacy with this loneliness and with the loneliness of the whole, and something starts to move. So what kind of connection is bringing this transformation from the agony of separation and disconnect to something more of a healing nature that moves through the experience of loneliness, moves through the experience of intimacy, and comes back to the quality of connection? Well, partly what's happening there is connection moves beyond being a thought or an idea or a principle or a checkbox. Tick, I'm connected, tick, I'm connected, tick, I'm connected. I've got this many friends, 3, 4, 5.5, you know. I've got this much surviving family. So it moves beyond the mental idea of connection being something that you have to make and you have to keep and that you have to form and you have to win and you have to control and you have to sustain. It moves beyond that mental concept into the living experience of connection, the felt sense. We connect with the felt sense, with the feeling sense of how it feels to exist as a person in our era, in a shelter of some kind of the separate self. We open the feeling. So what's the greatest connection is to open up the senses. The feeling aspect, our ability to feel loneliness is when we can allow ourselves to feel it, connection is coming to life. When we allow ourselves to taste it, to smell it, to touch it, to listen to the strange melody of our loneliness, connection is coming to life. And intimacy is coming to life. We're becoming intimate with the experience. And in becoming intimate with the felt sense, which can only happen in the here and now, we're also becoming intimate with each other. Our capacity for intimacy increases. Because the felt sense is never kept within this boundary, this shelter of a separate self. It's never confined. It's a living thing. We can sense the stars in the sky. We can sense the movement of the clouds. We can sense big bombs falling in the distance. We can sense the suffering of others on the other side of the world as if it's right here inside our hearts. And it's all connection. So connecting to the felt sense is a game changer. And then, in connecting to the felt sense, something comes online, which is that one which was able to move from maybe very sad, frightened thinking to feeling or experiencing directly what is here now. So that one inside of us, that timeless one, that boundless one which is able to experience anything at all, is it the same one as which is inside the other, inside the neighbor, inside people in distant countries, inside people who are moving through the skies, inside people who are in their beds right now, fast asleep, bless them, in Australia? It's the same one, this one which is conscious, this one which is able to experience. So now we're connecting to each other immediately, through the back door, quantum style. We're just a thought away from each other. We think about each other, and then we connect to the felt sense or the presence of another, and in a moment we are there. We are connected, and there's an incredible possibility of a positive kind of symbiosis, a sharing of resources. So what happens partly in the shelters, once one has made oneself sure that one is safe, as much as can be, is that a connection starts to happen, maybe at first through the phones. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you there? A heart over here. Don't wake up my mother, she's okay over there. She doesn't need to know this is happening. But there's this reaching out through connectivity, but that's the physical iPhone version. It's not the felt sense version. It's kind of a machinery which can't replace that movement. When we go to our heart, we come into the here and now, we feel our own naked existence, irrespective of what's happening around, and we connect to that exactly same point inside somebody in Holland, somebody in Alaska, somebody in England, somebody from the past, somebody from the future. And in this connection, it's like there's a network of light being built. There's a network of light which nurtures and supports immensely in the movement of resilience beyond this torture of being isolated within a shelter, within a separate self. And I'm using the shelter as a metaphor just because it's seasonal. So partly what's happened since I exist is that there's an ongoing WhatsApp group, and there are connections going on between members to this day since the I Exist retreat of a few months ago. And Diana, who's here, mentioned that just as Israel has an iron dome and America wants a golden dome, this is like an angelic dome. There is this angelic dome in which this field of connectivity is supporting everybody. And it makes so much difference. Even if we die in it, it's a way to say goodbye, because it's not nice to leave without saying goodbye. It's nice to be connected. It's nice to move through the web which exists beyond even this physical life. So I leave it like that. There is a chance that there is an alarm. We had an alarm just before we began, and there's a chance there'll be another alarm. And if for any reason, and it's very unlikely, but if for any reason we get knocked offline, then Diana, who is here and ready, volunteered, will take up the guided meditation or the questions, or just bring the group together as needed. So we take a 5-minute break now, and then we come back for the guided meditation.
So, welcome back, everybody. So good to see you all. So, let's move into the guided meditation. And if you could find a relaxed position, and if you found a relaxed position, I'd like you to connect with your body. Just connect with the physical body. And while connecting with the physical body, I'd like you to connect with the feeling of life, the sense of life in the physical body. Maybe it's possible to connect with the sense of life in your feet. And in your lower legs, your calves, and connect with the sense of life in your knees. And your upper legs. Maybe you can connect with the sense of life in your pelvic. and your lower back and belly, connecting with the sense of life in our lower backs and belly. And a sense of life around our stomach and diaphragm. And connecting with the sense of life in our chest area and upper back. And then we are connecting with the sense of life in our shoulders. And connecting with the sense of life in our upper arms. And our elbows. And connecting with the sense of life in our underarms. And our wrists. And we are connecting with the sense of life in our palms, and our hands. Then we are connecting with the sense of life in our fingers. And then we are connecting with the sense of life in our neck. The front and the back side of the neck. We are connecting with the sense of life in the top of the neck and our lower jaw. And connecting with the sense of life at the back of your head. We are connecting with the sense of life at the back of our heads. And then we are connecting with the sense of life at our cheeks and the sides of our head. Connecting with the sense of life in our ears. And the top of our head. Connecting with the sense of life in our face. And our eyes. Connecting with the sense of life in our nose. And at the root of our nose. Connecting with the sense of life in our mouth, in our lips. Then connecting with the sense of life, your whole body. You're connecting with the sense of life, our whole body. And I'd like you to connect with the sense of life in a tree. We're connecting with the sense of life in a tree. And then we connect with the sense of life in our body again. Our whole body. And then we connect with the sense of life in an animal. We are connecting with the sense of life in an animal. And then we connect with the sense of life in our body again, in our whole body. And then we are connecting with this sense of life in another person, a human being. We are connecting with the sense of life in a human being. And then we connect with the sense of life inside ourselves, in our body again. And then I'd like you to connect with a good feeling inside yourself, an experience or a feeling which feels really good. Connecting with an experience or a feeling which feels really good inside yourself. And connecting with this feeling, this experience, give it time and space. And then I like you to connect with that feeling in another person, another human being. You're connecting with that feeling in another person, in another human being. The same experience. just allow yourself to experience this good experience for both of you. And maybe it's possible to open up this experience and connect with the experience in others as well. And to experience this experience for all of you. For all you're connected with. And then I'd like you to move back to your own body and feel the aliveness of your whole body. Connect with the aliveness, the sense of life in your whole body. And then I'd like you to connect with an experience or a feeling which is difficult for you. A feeling or an experience which is difficult for you. We're connecting with that. And just give this experience, this feeling, some time and space. And maybe it's possible to connect with this feeling, this experience in another human being. Maybe it's possible to connect with this experience in another human being. And maybe you can experience this experience for both of you. You can experience this experience for both of you. And maybe it's possible to open up this experience so that others with the same experience can come in and share. And you connect with the experience for all of you, for all you are connected with at this moment. And then I'd like you to connect again with your physical body and connect with the sense of aliveness, the sense of life, the whole physical body. Okay, now you slowly are coming back to the here and now. It's time to say goodbye to the people on the live stream. Thank you so much for being with us, and have a wonderful, wonderful and safe week, coming week. And we take a 5-minute